Hi everybody, welcome back to the painting channel. Today is a watercolor. It's all about sea and sky, so join me now and let's see how we get on. Hi everybody, welcome back. As I said just now, it's all about sea and sky. It's a little area over on the Isle of Sheppy called Sheerness, or that area. Not quite sure exactly the area that I was, but I went there a few years ago with a few painting buddies of mine. We had a wonderful day's plein air and lots of paintings came from it, and it was a good day. And if you're interested in that, I'll put a few photographs at the very end of the video, so when you finish watching the actual painting you can watch and see a few of the day's results from a few years ago. So that all said and done, what am I doing? I went and felt that it would be lovely to do the same vista again, but only this time in watercolor. So I wanted to show you how I use watercolors to depict the sky, those wonderful clouds, and the water on the estuary. So before we dive into it, let me as always say a big thank you to all my subscribers, new and old. Thank you so much, every one of you, for your support and your continued support of the channel. And if you're watching this, you're not going to say, but if you're watching this and you're not a subscriber, then please consider subscribing. It really does not cost you anything to do that. It really does, however, help me grow my channel, and that means that I can then reach more and more people around the world, and that's what I'm trying to do so much of. So with that said and done, click the bell icon, put the thumbs up and give it a thumbs up, and that'll be fantastic. Also add your comments. I love reading them and I will always respond to them. And at the same time, if you want more, don't forget the live stream every Monday evening, London time, 7 o'clock. Join me then, get involved with the chat, say hi. I'll always say hi back, and I'll always answer any queries you may have through that chat. That's fantastic. We've got a growing number of people each week coming and joining the live stream, and that's fantastic. And at the same time, if you want more, you know what I'm going to say, my Patreon, it's all the details are listed below in the extra details underneath this and all my videos. Take a look over there, because we've got 60 plus videos and they're growing. We've got a growing community of artists who are patrons and doing good work. And there are lots more things. There's another live stream each week which you can have, and all these different tiers don't cost that much, and there must be one there that I'm sure will help you. And at the same time, knowing every penny you put into that really does help support me create much more content. So take a look over. I'd love to welcome you on board as a Patreon, and it's fantastic and you'll get a lot from it. And at the same time, there is also our own private Facebook group. It's like an extended family. I love it because all my patrons are coming on board and we're interacting with each other. We're discussing artwork and putting their work up, putting my work up, and just sort of adding to that whole family atmosphere. And it really is getting nice, and many of the patrons are becoming more friends than it's just a really nice atmosphere. So if you want some of that, take a look over, choose a tier, get involved, and I love to welcome you there. And if you want to see more of this video, this is time-lapse, as you know, but if you want to see the full version, you're going to have to go over and look at and join the Patreon and get involved the same with seeing all the other full-length versions of these films. So yeah, love to have you on board. In the meantime, before I ramble on too much, enjoy the video, and I'll catch each and every one of you in the next one. Stay safe, happy painting, all the best to you guys. Bye bye for now. Bye bye. Hi guys, and let's crack on with this. Simply a straight line across the bottom will give me my horizon line. It's extremely low in this picture because all the information is all about the sky. The drawing I'm doing is just a hill in the distance and the few boats that I wanted to put in the foreground in the sea, but all of that's contained in the bottom quarter of this whole painting, and to that reason the drawing is very minimal. And I did draw in a fairly light 2B mechanical pencil And the paper that I'm using is a very heavyweight Arches 300-pound rough paper. I love this paper, it's a great paper, but it also allows me to carry on working at length on it without it totally drying up on me and causing me some problems. Although I've got to say, I was rather cold on painting this one, and I had a heater on, which did give me a few problems, if I'm honest with you. So watch the environment in which you're painting watercolour. Can cause you a problem. But the drawing's done, and so let's crack on now with some colour. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put water on the whole of the painting, with the exception of a dry area of the clouds through the upper top section, and the rest is all going to be water, nothing more. There was a little bit of pigment in the brush, but it wasn't enough to affect it. I used combinations of cobalt and a little bit of indigo to give me my lovely sky colour, but you can see the colour is only going where the paper is wet, nothing more. I've used a little bit of the same two colours, indigo and cobalt, predominantly in all of my mixes today on this picture. But I also added some Venetian or Indian red. I'll never remember what colour of those two I used, but one of them is the one I use. And I wanted to make a subtle first pass on all my watercolour, all my sky. So it's a very gentle pigmentation. Lots of water, not too much pigment, but I wanted the edges also to be quite soft. So you'll see me go in and work them quite a lot as we go through this painting. I'm drying off areas so that it can't really descend beyond the area that I've given it. Lots of lovely white sunlight or white parts of the cloud. Now that's just the white paper being left, nothing more. And that's the beauty of watercolour. You can't get a much brighter white than your white paper, so preserve it where you need to. And coming underneath with a very subtle cobalt, and a little bit of red went into that just to give it a pinkish blue look, but it's very, very pale. And again, I left some white paper just to suggest those very far off distant clouds that are coming up from the horizon line and starting to develop, and that was what it's about. For the sea, I used again the same mixes, but I put a little bit of alizarin into this mix this time so that I got a nice basic sea colour. That's all I did. These are the first pass. I cleared off any excess waters from the tape so that none of it bled back into my painting. Now it's always a good idea to have a little test piece of paper, a little offcut of an old painting that hasn't worked. And again, I'm using the same mixes of cobalt, a little bit of Indian red, or as I'm going to call it Indian red, and some indigo. I'm using a very deep colour of that now. Not as deep as I could do. There's still a fair bit of water to it, but it's a lot stronger than the first pass. I did, however, leave the first layer to dry before I came on with the second layer. But even now, I'm working as fast as I can to make all those shapes, those edges, not hard edges, not all of them, one or two of them maybe, but most of them I wanted them as soft, subtle blends. That cloud is billowing, it's building. Yes, there's rain in that cloud, but it's not overly threatening right this second. But it is, of course, giving me a wonderful sense of scale on the whole vista, and that's what I wanted to do with these colors going in right now. And where we started wet on dry, we're now of course going wet back into wet in wet, and we're adding pigments and colors, and we're lifting some of the colors out. It's not just put it all on, it is also taking some off. And you'll also see that I've come down to a slightly smaller round brush, and that's giving me a little bit more control, so that's why I did that. Now I'm using some very faded values of the colors that I've just been using, just to put into some of these lower clouds, these more distant clouds, giving me that wonderful aerial perspective as we go down to the horizon line, picking up some of the darks in the lower part of the base of the big cloud as some bits of it break away and sort of cloud, excuse the pun, cloud the issue, but you know what I mean. It's just little taps here, and because I'm predominantly using the same color values, they are of course creating a lovely harmony. Now I chose a few colors, ultramarine, bit of cobalt and a little bit of red, just to give me that beautiful distant hill. And now I'm using indigo, Indian yellow, a little bit of raw sienna to give me, I suppose, what you call a very grungy color green. I think that would be best way of describing it. But one thing I am doing is I'm trying to hold that horizon line, or the level of the sort of foreshore of the landmass, dead straight if I can. I wanted it to be very hard edged because there was no diffusion between that and the sea. The sea is crisp, it's light, reflecting that beautiful sky, and of course the landmass is strong, heavy and solid, and it was reflecting, as it would do, very, very dark in the distance, although not overly dark. It has to be correct perspectively, and I think that sort of come off. I think we got it about right. And now I'm starting to put some detail into the boats, a little bit of raw sienna into the cabin, a little bit of dark not sepia, indigo and blues into the boat. But I am painting negative space. I'm using the whites to show you where there's water running, the little fenders on the side of the fishing boat, things like that. So you're painting negative space. I put the yacht in with a little bit of the raw sienna and blue, and then I come into a slightly more blue value to the dinghy in the foreshore. I felt that that was that much closer, and it gave off a little bit more degree of colour, and you can see a bit more. I put a little bit of deep red into the centre of the boat to give me that real dark accent as you're peering inside. Don't ask me what this structure is out there. It was there, and I felt that it needed to be put in because it's probably very visually identifiable to the region, to the area, to the scene that I was painting. I got a sneaky idea it's somewhere that they put boats into for repair, and it's not like a dry dock, although I'm sure it rises and falls and it has the same effect. Now the landmass, I'm putting a much darker green value in now, and I'm not going over every part. As you can see, I'm using it to depict and show you or suggest to you that there are trees, bushes, shrubs way over on the distance, and you can see a massive planting and forms on the hillside around the little farmhouses that I'm just working around now. But they are just taps of a brush. They're nothing more, just different values of greens just coming in there and darkening up the foreshore, and then let that drift back into the mass. Put a couple of big trees to the left hand side, one or two more, and suggesting a few field contours with some of the shrubbery, all this sort of thing. A little road goes down to the farmhouse. That's all it needed, but it's enough information there to fool your brain to thinking that's what you're looking at, and that's what I'm suggesting. That's what I hope comes off. And I think if you get those little values about right, it does work out that way. Now I'm just going back into putting some I's and T's to the boats, just trying to give you a bit more information, a little bit more darks, maybe a little touch of reflection underneath. It was a ripply day, so there wasn't too much in the way of reflections underneath the boats. Just a little touch, just a mere suggestion. Putting the buoys in, there's a little bit of a red colour going into that buoy. It's probably the warmest part of the painting, if I'm honest with you, but it didn't need to have much more. What I'm doing now is just putting those little reflective parts in, little dark accents against that really bright water. The last boat, the last buoy, there's a little boat to put over on the far right hand side, and that's pretty much it. So now the last thing I did do is put some ripples in the bottom, and I wanted to let those dry. They were suggestive. They were not trying to create patterns. They were merely trying to suggest the ripples. Try and avoid patterns. We are people who love patterns. Try and avoid that, but make them little strokes and let them dry. And then once they are dry, once you're happy that there is no dampness in that paper, then you can go back over with a wonderful lovely deeper blue wash, which I'm doing now. There's the first one in, very dry brush so it breaks up on the paper and suggests that there's a glistening on the surface of the paper. And then I'm going to go back in slightly with a deeper one just to add weight. And the weight of the foreground really pushes up the weight of the background and the sky above. So there we are. It's done. I've signed it. I hope you've enjoyed it and I hope you got something from it. So yeah, have a go and I'll catch you all in the next video. Bye bye.